Thank you.
I want to ask Mr. Coffman about, I'm sure he's aware of what's going on out in Elbert County, which could absolutely destroy our way of life, our jobs, and our property values with the big oil companies coming in and already behind everybody's back, sweeping up whatever they can out there for the fracking of the natural gas, which I understand the nation needs, but it can be done, I'm sure, in a much more open form. And is Coffman going to stand behind the citizens that he's representing to make sure that his constituents are not lied to by these oil companies?
That's permitting, it's not, there's no federal permitting role in that is a state permitting process, because it's all on either private land or state land. It's not on any federal land. So there's only a federal permitting process when it involves federal land. So you would need to talk to your state legislators on that, because that would be handled through the State Oil and Gas Commission, possibly the State Water Quality Board, depending the exact nature of it, I don't know. But it would all be state permitting processes, not federal.
Is he standing behind any of this on federal property? I'm sure that they're trying to rack over the fence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I
He's
knew Mike.
Natural gas on federal
I knew Mike very well back in 1988 when he joined our environmental group, Citizens Against Lowry Landfill. Now I have the feeling I left because in 1988 the market dived, which was a precursor for what we just saw. Now I come back and I find out that Mike is totally going against every environmental issue that there is. And I would really like, I mean, we were friends. He came to my house. And now he drank the Kool-Aid. And he joined Citizens Against Lowry Landfill. I don't know now if the reason he joined was to boost his resume, but he's voting totally against what he signed up for 20 years ago. There's also the issue, I just spent 33 years teaching. My grandchildren are having to pay $4,000 to $1,000 to go to public school because of all the cuts. You're cutting teachers. I mean, my God, that horrible teachers union, because we get a whole $40,000 a year. And you're cutting it. You're putting 40 kids into a classroom. You want to talk about an uneducated populace? Why we're going to have a dropout rate that we have?
They weren't uneducated.
Go back to the 20s.
They want to privatize schools.
Yeah.
So we have another layer of administration. That's all charter schools are. They're not any better than a public school. You just have somebody making, as Douglas County is, 25% of the state money that is supposed to go to the students. Now we have to pay for our kids to have bus transportation. They have to have juice drinks. They have to have Kleenex. What are we going to do? Send them with a big bag of toilet paper?
Yes.
It's getting absurd.
Yes.
And I worked 10 years with young adults trying to get their high school diploma. They came back after 18. Normally had 2 or 3 kids, not married, no diploma. And I'm angry. I'm angry we push these kids through. I'm angry we're not teaching them anything. And then we turn around and we say, we're going to have a high school exit exam. That the people that actually pushed that through couldn't pass.
And what are we in the world in education?
17.
Well, I love the statistics that we only have a 25% dropout rate, when in actuality it's closer to 50.
This is a bigger issue. In January 2010, and the reason why I bring it up is because it relates directly to jobs. Yesterday and in the last couple of weeks in Wisconsin, we saw a meeting of big money and constituents. And I think the constituents made a statement, but the big money won, and the reason for that is because of a decision made in the Supreme Court in January 2010 called Citizens United. And what we are seeing right now, we saw a blueprint yesterday for the Republican Party to take into the 2012 election and basically buy the election.
That's the plan.
We saw what happened yesterday. We saw 4 of the Republicans get reelected, and we saw 2 Democrats take seats in the state Senate in Wisconsin. And I think Representative Coffman has a responsibility to himself as representative, to us as his constituents, and to the American people in protecting the Constitution to go ahead and take that issue up with the federal legislature, with the House of Representatives, because in Article 3 of the Constitution, and this has never been implemented, in Article 3 of the Constitution, Congress has authority over the Supreme Court's decision. Now, has that ever been initiated since the 1803 Marbury versus Madison decision? No, it hasn't. But it needs
What article
to be.
and section was that again?
Article 3, I think Section 2 of the Constitution. Congress has authority over the Supreme Court's decisions, and they have never initiated such a thing, because Marbury versus Madison back in 1803 gave the Supreme Court judicial review and judicial supremacy, and the Supreme Court has acted basically as kings. And that's what they're doing right now, because of a series of decisions that were made in the latter part of the 19th century and 2 in the 20th century, Santa Clara versus Southern Pacific Railroad, Bellotti versus First Bank of Boston, and Buckley versus Vallejo led up to the Citizens United decision in January 2010. And basically, the Supreme Court has control all over everything we do, and money buys politics now. And that was offensive to see what happened last night in Wisconsin.
I agree.
To see the Koch brothers, to see the DeVos family, and to see Karl Rove go in there and drop $30 to $40 million, the largest
Hey, Chris,
amount of money ever dropped on a state election.
can you suggest to staff that, maybe something that you would like to see Representative Coffman,
I would like
do
to see him
about that?
speak out on that issue. I think he has a responsibility to. I think Congress has a
It's not what
responsibility to.
corporations putting in money, don't
Yes.
Never mind the fact that in that decision, Justice Thomas stood to benefit from that because of his wife's friendship with the Koch brothers, and the fact that he spoke at Koch brothers events.
David Koch ran for president with vice president, yes, 1980, and of course, a libertarian ticket. You know, he's against. I mean, a libertarian ticket was, you know, against a lot of things, but then it was for a lot of things too. But then he and his brother Charles realized they could never get into politics, that he could never win. It was much easier, and Charles even stated, you know, it's much easier just to buy the politicians, tell them what we want them to say, we'll be the maestro and they'll play the song. It's David Koch and Charles, they do that.
And the American Legislative Exchange Council sits in our state legislature and writes legislation basically now. You know,
Alex gotta
a
go.
right-wing agenda. Alex. And they're in
yeah.
all of the state legislatures, and they're writing right-wing legislation as we speak. And they are funded by the Koch brothers, as you guys
Yeah,
well
the
know.
I
Heritage
would like
Foundation, the
to see
Cato
my-
Foundation, and
Talk to Daryl Issa about an investigation into Clarence Thomas's affairs, his not paying of his taxes, which any one of us, if we didn't pay our taxes, we'd be in jail.
Yeah.
But Clarence Thomas has distinct conflict of interest with his wife, and he forgot to claim $800,000. That would be one way that Mike could possibly gain some support from the liberals of Douglas County, although I know we're not very many. But he did have these roots back when I knew him 20 years ago, and I just hope that maybe he can think back in his mind and think that, maybe let's do something for the people, not for the money.
Okay.
I believe he signed Grover Norquist's pledge as well,
Yep.
and I don't understand why anybody would sign that.
Isn't
Uh,
that
that's
reelected to appease the,
not
because
register.
he's a lobbyist?
A pledge to Grover Norquist is a
But he
pledge against
also-
America.
He also made an oath to us,
Yeah.
and I think his oath of office should supersede any pledge he gives to a lobbyist.
I think that
Damn right.
congressmen,
Here,
all of
here.
them should start standing up to not sign petitions because that's in a direct conflict of democracy. They're representing us, not a petition. And the more congressmen that sign a petition and are loyal to that petition are not loyal to us.
Yeah, it's a pledge of allegiance to America instead of a pledge of allegiance to Grover Norquist. That, he's serving Grover Norquist. He's
Above
not
America.
above America, above the Constitution, above the law, above the people, and that is not right. And oh, by the way, I am a constituent, and several of these people here are constituents.
I am.
We are not paid to come in here.
Oh, yeah, we're not paid by the Koch brothers, we're not bussed in.
And I wanna know why. We had a lot of people, they were talking about in Congress, they have, the Tea Party had about 75 members protesting. There were about 450 to 500 of us progressives and independents, and there was no coverage of that. John Kerry brought that up.
I'd also like to know why the company RIM, Research in Motion, the maker of BlackBerry, is funding Mike Coffman's campaign, even though they have no business and no offices in his district.
Corporations can't get directly to candidates, so I have no idea.
According to,
And we're not part of the campaign, so I have no idea whose donors are or aren't. Couldn't tell you.
Well, they took an oath on that Bible, and that's why I brought one. I have one in my car, and when I had my business, I had one at the office. But they took an oath on that Bible to stand beside the United States. And I think a lot of them have forgotten because I know it's hard. I've got friends that are Congress people. You get in there and there's not a clean bill there. Why can't we just do a clean bill? But, and it's a lot of role playing, but they need to stand up for us. We don't have, like she said, we're not paid. I don't have the money now that I'm retired.
They want to keep their jobs.
But we
They don't
don't
want to
have
be
the money to
unemployed
go to
like so many
Washington.
other people.
They need to be standing up to people, and there's going to be more and more of this. You're going to see us more and more, because I told you, I'm here for those grandchildren. I'm here for those poor people I see that just came from getting dialysis. They can't get a job, but they have to come to us for food. And we ran out of money to help them with utilities. So I don't know what some of them are going to do. We don't get, as I mentioned, I'm here for people that can't be here themselves. And the other thing about jobs, we can increase jobs. Matter of fact, I was a registered Republican for years. For at least 4 years, I won the Businesswoman of the Year in Colorado. So I became an independent because of the Bush Cheney. I mean, you can look that up in the RNC. I've received it a number of times.
I always voted Republican too,
So until the Bush Cheney, and
That was it,
and
cut
this
it
is
off.
claiming to be
No
Christian.
more Republicans.
And, the Bible says you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but it also says the two greatest commandments, love the Lord thy God with all their heart, and their neighbor as yourself, and thy neighbor as everything.
Right.